Hey, how's it going, guys? And J Man's in here. Hey, J Man. Haven't seen you in a little bit, dude. How's it going? You busy at work? Also, hello, everyone else. Ian Snowley. This is a vibe. My name is Ian as well. That's cool. Yeah, some cool jazz music, I suppose. Um, yeah, cool stuff. Oh, all right. So, I'm actually kind of looking forward to this one. I just like streaming in general. I say it every single time we go live. I like streaming, but nonetheless, um, hello. Sorry for bad English all the time. Um, Today there's some like kind of interesting stuff. I'd suppose that I guess I want to talk about pertaining to the channel. Like I guess an announcement of sorts, but I'll probably wait till more people are in here beforehand. Um, it's sort of a bittersweet announcement. Nothing bad really. Like nothing's happening to the channel, like or anything like that. But um, uh, definitely something that'll impact some of the community around it. It's a good it's a double-edged sword, this announcement, I suppose. But it's completely necessary, and you guys, I would imagine most of you guys would understand. Again, I want to wait a little bit until more people are in here, as to lay down the news, I suppose. But besides that, let's start our music. I haven't heard this. This is a new cassette. So, all right. Have you heard of the GYBE record yet? No, I have not. What is up with that? I don't even know what that is. I'm kind of a dumbass. Good evening. How's it going, my friend? I get a lot of it's because I stream sort of in the afternoon. Um, I notice I afternoon here in the United States. I notice I get a lot of European people, which is really cool. I like streaming. It's like 2 o'clock Central Time where I'm at. So, J-Man actually got another job. I work for Pinterest these days. No shit. Okay, interesting. Like from web development standpoint. Oh, what? Godspeed You Black Emperor release another album? Holy fuck. No, I have not heard that. I have not heard that at all. That is so awesome. Guys, if you guys don't know who Godspeed You Black Emperor is, you need to. Um I think West Coast might be evening. I don't know for sure though. Oh yeah, no, West Coast is earlier for I help companies run paid advertisings on the app. Damn. That's nice, J-Man. Hopefully you're doing well then. And hopefully Chris and all of you guys are doing good. Guys, me and J-Man go way back for my days of pre-content creation. Oho Roho, hello. How's it going, my friend? So what am I currently reading? Good question. I got done reading Spinoza's Ethics, and now I am on to Deleuze's book over Spinoza. So yeah, I'm going through a huge Spinoza spree at the moment, and I see the it's not really like infatuation, but I see the insane importance of people like Spinoza. Like my God, and a lot of Deleuze's commentary around it is really significant if you ask me. And I like that Deleuze within his analysis offers sort of really prescient potential answers for a lot of things that a lot of theorists don't do. And I don't blame them because that's hard to offer potential answers. Good lord, I mean, that's to certain things. It's one thing to describe accurately. That's significant enough. The reality around us or what's going on or a state of things. But to actually sort of propose a metaphysics that also simultaneously can help answer certain things, that's wild in a prescriptive context. I don't read a lot of theorists like that. I read a lot of cultural theory, and a lot of the times cultural theory doesn't give us like, oh, we should go do this or live X, live a certain way. Deleuze, especially around Spinoza and Spinoza himself, sort of do this, and it's really oddly relevant for a modern philosopher such as Spinoza. So yeah. Just a comment, but this streams are anything but critical theory talk. Oh, okay. I feel like that's like the majority of what we talk about. 9 p.m. here as well. All right. Where are you guys at in Europe, if you don't mind me asking? I'm not trying to dox random people on the internet. I'd like to go to Europe sometime. Jewish Portuguese from Amsterdam. Yep. That is Spinoza. His family escaped, I think, some anti-Semitic stuff in Portugal at the time. I don't know really the history about that. No, we talk about books, Vosh, and so on. And that's great. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we talk about a lot of things, but I like to keep things at least in the same sphere of theory or how it relates. But theory, especially cultural theory, that stuff encompasses a lot of things, Can't stay within there is no such thing as a theoretical discussion around culture that doesn't go outside of itself. And if it doesn't go outside of itself, then that is not real cultural theory, I suppose. But the title of the stream is a little bit misleading. Okay, I'm sorry, dude. I have no fucking idea what. No, I don't think it's misleading. Sorry. Brett, I'm oddly nervous to listen to it. Yeah, dude. Yeah, Godspeed. It kind of sucks. I find Godspeed, You Black Emperor, Lift Your Skinny Fist like antennas to the sky. I want to say quite significantly better than every other album that they have made. They have made other really good albums. I can't remember. Why am I forgetting the name? But there was one in particular that I actually really liked, other than Lift Your Skinny Fist. But I have noticed that seems to be their apex. I think. Lift Your Skinny Fist is just such a phenomenal album in every way. The Spectacle of Josh Vosh. Well, yeah, I mean, like, anytime we do talk about, like, debate bro things, it's a cultural critique. And in my mind, that's critical theory in itself, in a way. It's just in a different tonality. Oh, you have Yankee UXO. Yeah, I think I've listened to that as well. I mean, all the music they make is good. Man, it really sucks. The first album, you listen to Lift Your Skinny Fist. Oh my god, you're spoiled. Completely spoiled. Alright. Completely spoiled. But no, I mean, you can't. I think whenever it comes to critical theory and cultural theory, there is, like, drawing boundaries around that. You have to be careful. Because there, in many ways, cultural theory contends with so much. Yeah, I'm thinking of F sharp, A sharp. That's one of them. That was their first album, I believe. Yeah, very, very good. Okay, so again, I still want to wait. I don't want to wait for our lives, but I do kind of want to wait a little bit again for people to come in. Typically we'll peak around 50 viewers or so. I really want to get as many people in here before I kind of make this announcement sort of thing, and kind of talk about stuff relating to the immediacy, or to the sort of like the immediate core of our channel and sort of community and stuff like that. Of course, that conversation too will also relate to theory. It will. There's going to be some critique going on in there, so we'll wait for that. But Europe is I'll read chat as well. Europe is a nice place. We have old buildings here. Yeah, you guys do. That's cool. Oh, what's up, Victor? So, I couldn't stream, so I was planning on streaming today, but I could not stream earlier. So I figured I could stream today, but I couldn't have done it at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Guys, we're gonna have Victor and Eric on stream, pretty soon. I figured, Victor, if you were meeting with a student today, I'd go ahead and just do a normal stream and then invite you on. Hopefully sooner than later, for sure. Anytime you guys can do it, but I figured it'd probably be better just to push it to another day if that doesn't hurt you, because you had a meeting with a student. I spend a lot of my mornings working on menial stuff. Yeah, no problem, dude. But yeah, guys, I think we're gonna have Victor and Eric from the Pill Pod on. It's really interesting. I wanted to be able to, I think it would be an interesting topic. We've talked about some of his research into sort of political theory, and Victor, I believe you talk a lot about some of your research kind of goes into sort of habitual politics and how people sort of like vote and understanding like patterns and stuff like that, I believe, if that's right. And then Eric, I'm not exactly sure about Eric's direct research and sort of the stuff he contends with, other than like the subject matter being like semiology or semiotics and some cultural theory. So I'm interested to hear come from like where semiotics, political theory can kind of, yeah, democratic action, subjectivity, have it, yeah. So I'm interested to see where we could take like a semiotics and sort of semiological and sort of democratic direct action and subjectivity and so on and so forth. So on and so forth. But yeah, I think that would be a cool topic to kind of merge together with you guys. And it would be nice. I get to learn something. You guys get to learn something. Sounds cool. Have you read Nietzsche and Philosophy by Deleuze? I have not, and that is something I'm definitely interested in doing. Guys, I think that was Pill's best video. Pill's latest video on Deleuze and Nietzsche. I think it's probably like I think that was Pill's best video. I really do. Not necessarily that it was like, you know, it was some of my favorite subject matter he's covered. I really like some of the subtextual themes he talked about too. Chiefy and Proud, hello gamer. Yeah. Yes, I love that video. Yeah, some of the subtextual themes he talked about too. Like how to relate to Nietzsche and Deleuze. Like, man, I think really what Pill's... I wish you'd talk about this more. I love how like Pill's perspective is like, I'm not gonna talk about politics, but his views, but his like, but the reasons why he doesn't talk about politics is oddly enough a reason why he should sort of talk about that in politics, because it's something that I think Pill's approach, and sort of he takes that from I believe Deleuze and Nietzsche is a way to sort of analyze whether we're getting into political hobbyism as hobbyism, or how how we approach discourse in general being cynical or competitive. Guys, I think that's something that I've really, especially reading Deleuze and Spinoza right now, they talk about this a lot. I don't think this is something that I have struggled with immensely, guys. I think I have sort of like a cynical streak through me. I'm not an unhappy person. I'm really not. I find myself to be pretty critical. And I think having a critical nature towards things, you can become cynical really fast. Deleuze and Spinoza talk a lot, talk about sort of joyous philosophy, and only action can be done through joyous things. And again, being critical and cynical, you don't initially think about that. And that's kind of been one of the most important things recently that I've sort of read, and I've been like, I kind of had some aha moments that I rarely get. Reading it honestly takes sort of a load off my shoulders too. It makes you like, it's not good enough to be radically critical. It's not good enough to like, or at least in a cynical competitive sense. Like I think like relationship, trying to like sort of approach these things in a joyous aspect, in a non-moralizing or totalizing context. is so much more helpful. I think when you, at least I'm coming to that conclusion. I'm really seeing a lot of things, some of the effects from that. In many ways, the best things we could do politically, or impactfully to other people in an exterior context, it revolves relationship rather than just pure sort of like marketized discourse, like an exchange or competition. And that's sort of how we approach it. Guys, we approach discourse a lot like warfare. Deleuze talks about that as well. And that's something it's a contradiction and something that we haven't really quite contended with. But I really liked Pills' video also kind of went into that. I assume with, Deleuze talks a lot about Nietzsche in his Spinoza book. I imagine in his Nietzsche book, he talks a lot about Spinoza as well. I'm going to switch this cassette. Speaking of that board's still under construction. I'm figuring out what to put there. I'm gonna put something else there. Gotta figure it out though. David, how's it going, dude? Good comedy, joy/happiness is critical. Absolutely, like 150%. We really like. Zizek talks a lot about this as well. And this relates into other topics such as, again, this gets so. What's the best way to put it? This gets so like it can become reactionary really quick. But Zizek has talked a lot about how like sort of political correctness. I use that term lightly because it means so much. It's such a loaded term. But political correctness, sort of in the really strong approach against sort of, I don't know how to word this in a way that isn't going to sound really dull and like reactionary and just sort of uncritical of itself, but sort of like like something like people like George Carlin, that's incredibly important. But Zizek was talking about how he told racist jokes to his friends in Slovenia, and they weren't directed at anyone. They would tell like racist jokes about themselves, or jokes about them. They were being dicks, but it wasn't that. It came from a place of love. And there's sort of like a sort of, again, like, it's not to say you should just fucking go say racist jokes or anything, but I think we have to think about how humor is approached, and placing a lot of barriers on that humor without understanding, without being a little bit flexible with how we go about this. That hurts a really big core of relationship with some people. That's actually really valuable, you know what I mean? And you don't have to be a fucking weird, fucking actually racist right-winger or anything like that to understand this. I think this is actually like I think that's a pretty important discussion. We should tell racist jokes is not at the top of my agenda at all, not even close. But I think that understanding more so at the top of my agenda is understanding how humor, is it's a joyous form of things. But at the same time, and I agree with this as well, Spinoza and Deleuze, I think this is quite correct. We need to get away from like rigid satire. And I see that a lot on the internet. And it's a satire that is like, it's a postmodern satire that I see that is just, it doesn't really do a lot, but it's just satire. It's just there. Yeah. I think satire can be incredibly overly cynical, and it becomes critique, not creation. I like that approach. I think that's critique without creation is again, there's a lot about Deleuze the more that I learn that I quite enjoy a lot. That doesn't make sense, to be honest. Who needs racist joussans? I mean, it's not but I think the idea behind it is actually really like it's beyond that. It's beyond a totalizing like form of racism, if that makes sense. Like it's a sort of means of companionship that if there's going to be more rigid social barriers around that, well, you take a potential joyous form away from someone. Now, of course, if you're harming other people or you're being a fucking actual asshole, which that can happen really quick, that is the slippery nature of that sort of discussion. And that, that should be talked about as well. South Park is pure postmodern cynical critique from nowhere. Absolutely. I want to say maybe something like South Park in its own right is sort of a creation, though. yeah, maybe. I don't know though. That's a working thesis in my head, I guess. But yeah. Victor, the young scholar I met on Twitter wrote that looks like a sweet book on this I want to read. Maybe have him on the pill pot. Awesome. Okay. Awesome. Sounds like introducing the aspect of play. That's the thing. Play into language and philosophy, allowing you to explore things more freely. And we, you know, when we get away from that play, I think play is important, right? And that's something that I have struggled with. I take things really serious. I have a really fucked up sense of humor, and I'll partake in humor, but I do sometimes get a little bit too rigid on myself. I'll go through periods of that, and it's not good. It's not very good on my mental health either. Yeah. So I think play, discourse, stuff of that nature is incredibly important. Kiwi, hello. How's it going, my friend? Hey, Theme, if I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry. Hi. If you spend a whole stream without saying jouissance, I'll tip you some money. Okay. You don't want me to say... You don't want me... Okay, I won't repeat that, if that counts. Pay me to not say that, that's fine. But that term is pretty applicable to a lot of things that we talk about. And it can help explain a lot of things, but that's fine. I won't. So long as you promise to pay me. IDW Chungus. It's funny, though. Hell yes. You should read Zizek's introduction to his Less Than Nothing. He talks about Deleuze. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've heard some like online discussion around Deleuze with Zizek. And I actually agree with Zizek here a little bit. If I'm understanding this correctly, I have not read D&G. I have not. I've read Deleuze. I'm reading Deleuze's Spinoza. So I can't comment in full, but it seems like Zizek's... I don't know if it's really a critique. I think he says that when people ask him about the anti-Hegelian nature, Zizek's clearly a Hegelian, the anti-Hegelian nature of Deleuze, Zizek kind of says it's a little bit overstated. He thinks that a lot of Deleuze's thought is actually dialectical in some senses. But yeah. So he's not as anti-Hegel as he actually says, and I think I would agree. Zizek called Deleuze an absolute genius, but Guattari should have been shot. He says that about a lot of people. I'm curious as to why. David deleted his message. I saw that. Thank you, David. That's awesome. David protecting me. Oh, I love it. Oh, okay. He meant. Oh, I thought David. I thought you deleted that message so I wouldn't repeat it. Oho Roho, I am going to get you to pay me, man. It's gonna happen. I'm sorry. I'm going to take your money. I'm just kidding. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. All right, so we're starting to load up on viewers, and I think we can probably discuss what some of the announcements are that I'm doing. I think I can do that. So guys, I think we're going to transition into sort of, I was going to make a pretty big announcement this stream and maybe talk about some stuff relating to it. Victor sort of knows he's there now, but I will definitely get there, but I'll read this one more time. Oho Roho, because Guattari is your classical communist from the 60s in France. Interesting. Hey! Thank you so much, David. Thank you for always being really, really generous, dude. I genuinely appreciate it. Are you going to debate Vosh? I will not debate Vosh. I would like to go on Vosh. I still haven't sent him an email. I'm sorry, guys. Apparently Vosh saw his chat. People mentioned me in his chat, and his chat was saying that I was a Stalinist, which is just the most fucking wild. I get accused of being a lib way more than being a fucking Stalinist. Yeah, David always is. Thank you, man. I really, seriously, so much. But I'll never debate Vosh. I'd go on Vosh's channel and talk about stuff I'd talk about probably. I'd hope that it wouldn't turn into a total debate. He'd probably fire back at some of the stuff that I would say, though. I'd probably talk about how, like, his approach to... I'd probably talk again. We've talked about this in quite a bit. I'd probably talk about how the debate bro thing is just so unhelpful that I I think there's so many better things to do with the platform, such as his, is starting reading groups or approaching things critically. The Vosh fans are so strange. That they kind of are, man. I mean, he's got a huge audience too, so it's kind of hard to say what a Vosh fan is, I guess, you know? Ooh, kind of get a headache right here. That's strange. I don't typically... Weird. So, alright, announcement time. I don't ever get headaches. I'm kind of getting one. That's really fucking weird, and I feel lightheaded and dizzy. It never happens to me. What the fuck? Sorry, guys. Alright. So, I think what we are doing, guys, is I am putting our public Discord, I think I'm taking it off the grid. Like, I think I'm ending it. Where the public Discord, I don't think is going to be a thing anymore. That is the announcement. That's the wonderful announcement. But we're going to have a private Discord. You know, I've noticed lately the Discord, and I've been having to be a lot more active. I don't really have too many like active mods on that Discord, and I can't, like, that's understandable. You know, it's not like it's not a paid thing. I don't know if other content creators pay their Discord mods. I really don't know. But I can't do that. I'm too poor. And then we've been getting, the more we've grown, there's been a lot of good discussion on our Discord nonetheless. But we're getting to the point where we're getting a lot of people in our server who are like, it's just like lib destroyer 829. Look, the Uyghur, you know, the Uyghur situation in China is fake and it's manufactured by the CIA. It's like we can talk about those things. Like, we can talk about whether the Uyghur genocide X and Y. Like, I'd rather, but if we do that, we got to be really careful. There's a lot there, right? And we're a theory and a philosophy channel, and I don't want to talk about these things in a very uncritical or an overly ideological context. I can't stand it. And I don't want that this Discord to be that. And I know, you know, I've had some people, you know, like, of course, there's you know, I guess, well, I can dig into that a little bit. There's, of course, a Western impetus. There's a sort of geopolitical pressure towards the West to probably exploit something like a human rights abuse in China. Saw that with the Tiananmen Square. But that doesn't mean that it's fake. Doesn't mean that that's happening. And that what's going on is way more than China good versus China bad. And that is what's kind of happening to the Discord. I'm seeing a ton of people. I've seen debate bro shit in there, like the sheer online politics. What's happening is my Discord, the public Discord, is turning into sort of, I've noticed it's way too much. It's hard to control. It's a talking simulation of politics. And that is like the last thing I ever want that to be. That is already on the internet everywhere, guys. Like, people talk about politics in such an uncritical form everywhere else. You could go anywhere else on the internet. I don't want that to be on our Discord. So, oh no, here's where I get called out. No, I unless your name's, I haven't seen you on Discord do this. I had to ban a lot of people. There's been about fucking 6 people I've banned lately. A lot of really dickhead stuff too, like people being like the overly aggressive sort of debate stuff. So what I am doing is, and this is becoming more common, I'm actually paywalling our new Discord. That was the last thing I ever wanted to do. I was like, all right, I don't want to do that. I want to, I'm QOK. Oh, that's right. I was memeing though. Oh yeah. No. Absolutely not you at all. That's the last thing I wanted to do, is paywall a goddamn Discord if I could help it. But I'm going to do it. And I think I'm gonna put it to like, I did put it to the $6 tier. Sorry, I don't know what I'm hearing. Oh, I put it at the $6 tier, but I want to work with some people. If you guys want to join the Discord and you're like a $3 tier, or you've been really active in our current Discord and you've been totally cool, I would like to invite you to join. I'll just, if you could work with me with that. I didn't want to put it behind a paywall. I still want, you know, a decent sized community that, again, we can approach stuff critically. We can talk about things in a tone that's cooperative, not competitive. And I can't do that in a public Discord. I really can't, guys. It's almost impossible, especially for the size of my channel. I don't have people lining up to me to be a moderator or anything like that. I have a couple people who are willing to. I have one sort of moderator on our new Discord, but the new Discord's pretty much set up. I just got to finish the final touches. So again, it's the $6 tier on Patreon, and it's a bittersweet thing. I'm excited because the Discord will be a lot more focused. We'll be able to do, when I start implementing guys reading groups and stuff like that, which is what I'll do once I graduate college. We'll be able to do that a lot more easy. I'm going to have a section set up to where I have some editing tutorials as well for specific tiers and YouTube members and patrons. You'll be able to get a hold of those as well, and it'll be a lot more of a cohesive, cool, cooperative community. That's like the one thing I want to stress is, fuck, guys, just be nice to people. Like, just be nice. Maybe I'm just a chronic Midwesterner. I don't know what the fuck the deal is, but people are fucking assholes on the internet, like ridiculously. And there's no fucking room for that. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care what the deal is or what's going on. There's no fucking room to be a complete blatant asshole. I get that people may have somewhat reactionary views. Like, guys, I really think that, like, the process of shaming is far more harmful. Even though if they do have terrible views, like, it's much more, it's not helpful. It doesn't actually convince anyone. Half the time it alienates them further. And I'm not saying that's necessarily going to be the case in every situation in a Discord, but I've seen people I completely agree with, and someone will go into our Discord, our public Discord, that is, not Discord to be. And they'll say something that's probably very incorrect, and guys, they fucking, people are roasting them like complete, like I've heard people like call people dumb, like this is some dumb lib shit. I've heard, and it's like, what they said was I'm not even gonna say was dumb lib shit. I don't use that terminology. Absolutely fuck that. But I'm not cool with that. I'm not cool with that at all. And that just can't happen in a public Discord. So again, if you guys want to join, I would love to have you there. Please do. Again, $6, I get it. That's a lot a month. It's a fair bit of money. Let me know if you can't do that. Let me know. I want to work with all of you guys. I want you guys to be involved as possible. I just know that this is right now probably the best way I can kind of put a handle on it, because it's been stressing me the fuck out lately. And I think that's what we're gonna have to do. But just get a hold of me. Anyways, that's it. That's the announcement. But we can go move on from there. All right, back to chat. Pika says, "Are you self-taught in theory/philosophy?" I am, actually. And if so, how do you recommend one go about most effectively learning? I mean, that's a really good question, and that's a hard one to answer in some ways. So again, I come from the perspective where, or I come from a very political perspective. I'm, from the political science perspective. I'm a history and political science major. That was a lot of my core baseline. I've always been interested in politics. Matter of fact, my journey, I think with some people as well, was very political going into theory. But what I realized with a lot of just political discourse, whether that be practical politics, whether that be the actual field of political science, which is quite bad at times, it's incredibly it's not good at what it tries to do a lot of the times. In theory, answers a lot of these questions, or maybe not answers. It allows us to ask better questions as well about what's going on around us and the whole general sphere, even in a political context. Theory is way better at analyzing things, and philosophy is as well. And I've noticed something, that philosophy is also, in my mind, inherently more radical and more critical than political science. Way more, if you ask me. Not a lot of people know what I mean by that. If you guys are interested, I can elaborate on that. But regardless, that is where I went into theory. So, and I got interested in critical theory. The Frankfurt School really piqued my interest. I think when I started, you know, really learning about the ideas from the Frankfurt School perspective, I was like, oh, okay, this is it. Like this is like you know, I really from there got into it, and then it's just been a fucking wormhole ever since. And I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. And so what I would answer to that, like, how do you get in a self-taught perspective? How do you get into philosophy theory? Find something that really interests you. And I think that's the first thing that you should do. And if that's fucking someone like Deleuze, like late 20th century philosophy, I say fine. People say not to ever do that. I say do that. Find what you're interested in, read it, analyze it, learn from it. It's going to be confusing as hell. And then from there, go back, perhaps go read some stuff that will help answer that. So a lot of late theorists build off of prior theorists, and you need to learn those prior theorists. But I think learning, trying to take those, like, the traditional academic stepping stones of like the Greeks, then to like modernity and whatever. I don't know, man. I think that can burn a lot of people out. So I jumped into critical theory. Didn't know too much about people like Hegel. I mean, I took classes about Hegel, but again, my teacher taught Hegel as synthesis, or as thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, and I didn't really get the total gist of Hegel. Same with Hume. I learned a lot about Hume, some Kant, and but I never really got the whole scope. And so critical theory allowed me to get really interested into the discourse of philosophy in general, and from there, that helped immensely. Oh, good question. What is the synth behind me? I have the Behringer Neutron and the Behringer Model D. I'm going to switch the music. We're going to go to... rewind this tape, and we'll switch that. I see another comment that says the ambient music in your videos really take the absorption of the information you're putting out into another level. Thank you so much. That's the whole goal. I find that a lot of music can sort of invoke sort of an emotional response that can kind of keep you engaged. At least for me. That's how my brain works. I've gotten some pretty nasty responses about my music. People are like, turn off your fucking dumb shit, like dumb fuck music. Like verbatim, that's happened. In comments, they're like, turn off your fucking music, it's, you know, blah 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 blah. No, I'm not turning off my music. Music will always be in my videos. Sorry. Yeah, Hegel never used the term thesis. Well, so guys, I'm actually not so antithesis, or whatever, and synthesis, antithesis. That's so hard for me to say. Antithesis. I'm not totally against that. I think that kind of explains the form of Hegel's dialectic, all right, but that's all it is. It's the form of his dialectic. But it's helpful. Like we can go into r/philosophy, guys. You'll hear everyone, that's not Hegel's dialectic, and it's not. That's fine. That's fine. I don't think that's totally bad. I find a lot of snark. A lot of people like to point that out in a snarky tone, and I find that form helpful, and I think that's why it's taught. It's helpful on a surface level, but it certainly isn't his dialectic and content. New music incoming. Look at me, some nasty, disgusting hipster. Fuck me, right? Dirty lib. I am the city lib who listens to cassettes. I also have a vinyl. I have a record player that I would listen to more often if I didn't live in a fucking apartment complex where I can't turn up the volume past a certain thing. I have those hooked up to speakers, not headphones. All right. All right, your music is great. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's good. I just use some ambient drone music, man. I think it's great for that. It puts a sort of atmospheric tone to what's going on and stuff like that. Yeah, so cassettes, so I thought, you know, all right, I'm to say the least, I'm a bit of an audiophile. I love music. and I love audio in general. There's a lot of people who love music who don't actually really love audio, if that makes sense. It's I don't talk about it a lot, but maybe you can look up the price of these headphones and yeah. I bought them used. I swear to God. But anyways, I love like good sound. And I love hearing different types of sound. And you know, that requires different forms of and formats of music. And you know, I have a record player. And vinyl's nice. It's not the end all be all. You got to have a really good you guys got to have a good stylus. You got to have a good turntable in order to listen to vinyl in a good context. People will buy a $50 vinyl like record player and it sounds like shit and it'll actually hurt your record. So don't do that. Don't ever do that. And so the one thing I didn't have was other than like a CD player was a cassette player. And when I was younger, my dad had a cassette player at our lake house. And we kind of have, it's not really a lake house, more like a cabin. And we would listen to music in there. And I was just curious. I was like, what does a cassette player sound like? So I went and bought one. I was like, you know what? I was like, I don't have music on my stream. And you know what? I'm going to be a little extra. I do that. I am extra by default. I go balls to the wall with everything I fucking do, if you guys can't tell. Well, that sounds a little bit arrogant, but like my brother and my girlfriend sometimes sort of, they don't really make fun of me, but they sort of make fun of me. I take shit. I don't know what it is, dude. I just like when I'm into something, dude, I go at it at 100%. Anyways, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be different. I'm going to be a different streamer. I'm going to stream all my music, my background music, on a motherfucking cassette player. And I was just curious, how does it sound? Is it as good as what they say? And if you guys want that answer, how does cassette sound compared to streamed music? How does it sound compared to uncompressed digital files? Uncompressed digital files are amazing. But this is important. I was wondering, how does cassette sound compared to that? You guys want to know the short answer? It sounds not as good. It doesn't sound as good at all. If you want to hear music in an aggressive tone and that's in your face, you don't listen to a cassette player unless you get something like a metal tape. Metal tape's it's quite expensive. A reel-to-reel tape player sounds incredible. A cassette player, though, typically doesn't sound that good. But there's a huge caveat on why I'm still using this. Why I am. And this is important. I noticed, and this fascinates me. This fascinates me a lot. The music on a cassette player is toned down. It's the dynamics seemed a little bit compressed. It sounds like there's a compressor. If you guys are into audio, you know what a compressor is. It takes the dynamic range of the sound. So like you'll have some quiet parts and you'll have some louder parts. It sort of lowers that. It kind of like mellows everything out. What it also does on cassette tapes is it kind of feels like it either boosts the mid-range or the bass and the high frequencies are a little bit tamed. And so it creates, again, what some people would call a warmer sound. It creates an analog sort of sound that is just sort of, it's colored and it's not accurate, it's not dynamic or punchy, but it's there. And in my mind, if I'm playing background music, that's perfect. And I didn't do that on purpose. I was just curious about how cassette would sound, but actually the cassette player ended up making perfect sense. So I am totally cool with that. All right. More cyberpunk related videos. I could do, I might do that in the future. It'll be a while. I think cyberpunk from an art sort of theory or art, like from that perspective, is interesting. And we might touch on that again. I agree. I've been on an ambient kick lately. Guys, ambient music is very underrated. Very underrated. Stelios, we were just talking about that. The new Godspeed You Black Emperor record. I haven't heard it yet. I have not heard it yet. Brett was talking about that. But yeah, I am looking forward to listening to it. Brett, I have a single cassette of a friend's garage project. Hell yeah. Cole. I was a computer engineering major in college, but I really regret not taking anything deeper than my Western ethics. Yeah, it's okay though, man. I mean, I haven't studied really much philosophy in an academic perspective. I've taken philosophy classes, but I was never a philosophy major or anything like that. Old 80s black metal would sound the best on cassette. Yeah, it would. That's actually, yeah. So it probably would, actually. It would probably help with some metal music, depending on the guitar. Some of the distortion can cause some peaks and certain frequencies that kind of hurt your ears, the sounds, or it can sound shouty. Cassette's perfect for that. Cassette is not, it's anything but shouty. Even if you turn it up. Here, I can turn it up real quick. Whether or not you're able to tell that's shouty or not, it's probably going to depend on the type of headphones you're wearing or speakers or stuff like that. But no, guys, if you can't tell by now, I'm a fucking huge audio fan. I love audio. It's some of the greatest shit ever. We are blessed to have the thing called sound. It's not about just music. People talk about music, right? Music's wonderful. Music's everything in a lot of ways. But more than just music, sound itself is fucking sick. If you think about it, I think. But to be honest, Wikipedia is good enough. I heard a hot take on Twitter lately by an account I really like. It's rare. That's rare to say. I have a handful of Twitter people that I quite enjoy a lot. She's one of them. I really, it's rare that you find a Twitter account that's not aggressive or mean to people, and they make some. I don't know. Anyways, I like this account quite a bit, and she made a tweet saying like, "Hot take: Wikipedia is bad." I don't know what her reasoning is. She's very smart, so I would love to hear from her why. But I've always thought Wikipedia was one of the, like, shining lights of the internet. I've donated to Wikipedia numerous times. I think Wikipedia is great in a lot of ways. And it's not like people... I think we have the idea, or at least I imagine, like, we have the idea that, like, Wikipedia is just completely inaccurate. It doesn't seem like that. Like, there's sources at the bottom that you can find. It seems to be the exact same as, like, normal encyclopedias, except it's open source and it's free. And in my mind, that's super fucking cool. So, anyways, I would like to know why she thinks that, but I've always... that's a cold take, really. I'd like to know why she doesn't like Wikipedia. Honestly. I just spit on my monitor. Ugh. If people have a problem with Wikipedia, then that means they haven't scrolled to the bottom. I think maybe, and was part of my university plan. I think Wikipedia is so cool. I really do. But again, I'm sure that she has a reason. I really, you know what? We don't get enough good Twitter accounts. Let me link her. I think she talks about, her name's Sid Stayerhart. There. I'll just link. I'll give her a shout out. I like her Twitter. There we go. Anyways, one of the very few Twitter accounts I actually like. I get on Twitter for, but I use too much Wikipedia. I use Wikipedia all the time. A lot of people lack the introspection and problem-solving skills to read something and be like, okay, that sounds kind of stupid. I need a source. I think sometimes, yeah, for sure. But then if that's a problem too, you run into another problem is like, even if the correct information, if they're too stupid to seek out certain verifiable facts, the verifiable facts themselves would be a little bit hard to understand. Maybe, I don't know. All right. Biblio, how's it going, my friend? I think academics tend to look down on Wikipedia, but I think whatever the case is, its use in formal academia, it's an amazing effort and source for everyone else. Yet, I don't know what. Yeah, I hear that too. I've heard quite a few academics really shit on Wikipedia. I don't really know, but here's sort of my idea with at least some of that critique. I think that critique might be a little malicious, depending on who's saying that. I'm sure there's totally good faith critiques of Wikipedia in an academic context. But I notice, guys, there is a lot of really weird elite, and this isn't like a hot take or something new. We've been knowing this. There's a little bit of a, what's the best way to describe it? Well, look, elitist approach to academia and a preservation of like inner club like stuff, like upholding sort of institutions that purposefully operate exclusion, like via like exclusionary bases, right? Academia and how it works is still quite exclusive in some ways, right? It's really, especially in the US. In Europe, they've really, that problem isn't quite a huge deal. But in the United States, and the institutions at play operate as a sort of like status operation, and Wikipedia can kind of tear down it can kind of help tear down that sort of barrier to information. And I notice a lot of academics don't like that. They really don't. I get the academic critique against things like YouTube. I get that, because YouTube, I mean, dude, you can put whatever the fuck you want on YouTube, but you can't really do that on Wikipedia. You have to cite sources, I think. Like, there's definitely a vetting process through Wikipedia. Whether it's sufficient, I'm not sure. I can't speak on that. Yeah, as a grad student, I have to totally agree. It's getting better, but academia definitely is an old boys club, to put it mildly. It is. And that's even, and the depressing part about that is that academia, like administrations and all their problems, still kind of try to make it more accessible, but it just, yeah. They haven't really, again, especially in the United States, we have approached the problem with academia completely, and I mean completely, from policy perspective, away from materiality and one of Freudian sexuality. Like, it's turned, and not to be a fucking dirty ass fucking right winger, but it's an identity politics sort of thing in some ways. That's been academia's answer for a lot of the exclusionary nature of academia. And that's true. Like, there's a lot of things in the past that were exclusionary in academia based on identity. A fuck ton of them. I just think in a lot of ways we're still running into, clearly we still have issues with student loan debt, and people can't afford to fucking go to university immediately. They have to have a job. Like, they have to work like 30 hours a week, and they'll still be in student loan debt. It's fucking, I mean, it's bad, man. And that still, at the end of the day, actually hurts more people of color than non-people of color, it statistically speaking. I think when it comes to academia, and most policy, I think most policy in general should be approached through a very material perspective. It's stupid, but I got confident using Wikipedia articles because of G-Check. Yeah, I like Wikipedia. I do. I think Wikipedia is beautiful in so many ways. Academia can suck my taint. I'm gonna go into academia and ruin it completely so that it's accessible and the world gets smarter, and that's on baby. You're fucking right. Poop always with the god tier fucking takes and chat. Always going off in here. All right. Let's see. I literally cite Wikipedia for my papers in college right now. I do not give a fuck. I'm kind of, so speaking of like citing Wikipedia right now, that's probably not a good idea. I feel like a lot of professors citing Wikipedia would fucking hate that. You can cite the sources within Wikipedia. I do that all the time. I'm to the point, guys, I'm so fucking done with school. Guys, my last semester, I'm taking I'm currently taking, at the moment, a senior capstone. I bitch about it all the time on stream. I have to write a fucking undergrad thesis of like 20 plus pages, and oh my fucking god, it's terrible. And the class is like, I have to do multiple presentations and shit. It's fucking horrible. I fucking hate it so much. I've never hated a class more in my life. Anyways, I'm fucking so disillusioned with academia at this point as like a super senior. This is my 5th year. I'm done. I'm fucking finished, man. I don't want to do this anymore. But yeah, I'm to the point where I'm ready. Guys, I coast through assignments. I get like C's on shit right now. I don't give a fuck right now. I don't care. I'm in the same boat. Yeah, I'd be citing Wikipedia pages too. I don't give a shit. Epoch Zizek said, shamelessly taken from Wikipedia in his new COVID book when talking about the philosopher. Fuck it, man. That's great. That's based, Zizek. Guys, I really like this album. This is Forever. Guys, there's a lot of Japanese wonderful ambient artists. Forever by Yutaka Hirasaka. Of course, when the stream's done, I'll have all the cassettes or whatever the music is in the description. Good day again. I'm at work, so I'm just tuning in with this in the background. Hey, how's it going, Mel? Good to have you in here, as always. We're just doing nothing but bitching about academia in here. Dude, I was just cruising around blasting Japanese track day jazz. Dude, the Japanese don't fuck around with that at all, dude. It's great. I guess we can say we tried reading Kant, but we can't. Yeah, I can't read Kant. I have Critique of Pure Reason right there. Oh, you guys also know what's really cool about a cassette player? Because I'm a fucking nerd. And I'm a piece of shit. I really like the fucking VU meters. You can't see it because the camera's actually working today, and the camera's actually like focusing on my face for once, and it's not blurring my face out and focusing on the background. Anyways, there's some really cool VU meters that just do this. I don't know. I'm easily amused. Luke Madrid, on my break from work, found your channel about a month ago, and I'm in love with your content. Thank you so much. Hey, I appreciate that so much, man. I'm really happy to have you here. What are your thoughts on Cuck Philosophy? I like Cuck Philosophy. He makes good content. I really do like his videos. I don't watch a lot of them. I haven't seen a lot, but the ones that I have seen are pretty good. I like him. He's an enigma to me. The dude is very mysterious. What's always shocked me is that he's still in academia after having a YouTube channel that would do more than provide a good living for him. He had a whole Patreon base. His videos get all kinds of views. The dude could make, he's not gonna be rich, make a really good living off YouTube, and he just he doesn't even take it seriously. And to me, that's wild. I would kill to have the following that he does. Not really. I love all you guys. But yeah, he's got a really good following, and well-deserved following, if you ask me. He was one of the first to sort of do TheoryTube. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you. I will definitely answer that. Always. Any of you guys tip, and you guys ask questions, you guys get all the fucking focus. It's all on you. All on you guys. Anyways, I'll finish that thought up. But yeah, he's an enigma to me, but I like him. He doesn't go on people's shows or anything like that, but I talk about this all the time. I would love to have him on stream. I'd talk to Cuck Philosophy. Anyways. What do you think of Paglia? So, I don't know who that is, but you tipped me, so you tipped me, and you deserve that sweet attention, and you will get it. Oh, I've heard of Camille Paglia. Critical of contemporary American feminism. A critic of post-structuralism. That's kind of a thing I've noticed. I know post-structuralism was like big in the late 20th century, but post-structuralism kind of nowadays gets a little bit more flack than what you'd expect. Yeah, we're on Wikipedia. Oh, as a libertarian, characterizes herself, she opposes laws against prostitution, pornography, drugs, and abortion. Yeah, I don't know. What's some of her books? All right, Sexual Persona, or Personae, Paglia's sexual personae. Sorry, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, guys. Sexual decadence in Western literature. Okay, is she prison book? The human nature has inherently dangerous Dionysian or chthonic. Okay, so we're hedonistic in regard to sexuality, or does she mean that like violently? Describes deities or spirits from interest. Yeah, they're like a worship, a hedonistic worship apparatus of sexuality. Yeah, I don't know, my friend. I apologize that I don't know who that is. Paglia's free women, free men, sex, gender, and feminism. Okay, interesting. Child sexuality. Wait, a wait, hold up. Is a pedophilia advocacy? It works to abolish age of consent laws? I ain't cool with that. I think that we should treat pedophilia as sort of a medical issue. But I'm not cool with that. Fuck that. But I suppose though that's a good question to ask how you feel about that. I mean, I imagine she's an interesting thinker. I argued that male pedophilia of cardinal moments of Western civilization. Oh my god, what the fuck is this? She later supports legal. Okay. I think it's absolutely impossible to think we could reproduce the Athenian code of pedophilia. Oh. What? We must protect children. I feel that very strongly. The age of consent. What the fuck? I mean, God. A feminist in favor of pedophilia. That's an interesting one. I've heard of her, but I really did not know. Didn't know, man. Gotta say, I ain't not impressed, I suppose, in that context. I'm happy that you introduced me to her. But on the topic of pedophilia, I think most people think this. I think who aren't, I don't know. But I think pedophilia should be approached a little bit more compassionately, like a little bit. I know European, and there's more success in that regard if you care about the exploitation and like the horrid fucking shit that can happen to children. I think it's a more effective way to combat pedophilia, to treat it more medically. There's been some research in Europe. I think Germany's a country that sort of is starting to take this seriously now, and the results are better than just raw incarceration. But yeah. What do you think about ContraPoints? I love ContraPoints for the most part. Yeah, I like ContraPoints. Her and PhilosophyTube are quite similar. PhilosophyTube is cool too. I like her, but I think that they're good, not in a philosophical context, if that makes sense. It's a little bit more pop philosophy, and that's totally okay. And that's cool. And I like both of them quite a bit. I would, but this is me, the sort of theory nerd. I would like a little bit more. I would like them to contend more with some specific sort of text and philosophy, but no problem. I do like them though. I do. This is a horror story. The longer you look at it, the worse it gets. Yeah, that was a little rough. More compassion for the pedophile than the victims? That's when you know you've been brainwashed? The fuck are you talking about? Absolutely not. What? Is that in response to me?
Anyways, I love your channel and you deserve this. I cannot wait for the Nickland videos lol. I wanna know about Kant, capital, and the prohibition of incest. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that beyond words. Kurt, I apologize too. You may have been referring to her, not me. Sorry, but I didn't know if that was to me or not. Like, that's absolutely not the case. Anyways, love your channel. Yeah, thank you so much, man. And thank you for the $10. Seriously, that means an absolute ton. I will do Nick Land in the future, 100%. I will. It's gonna be a little bit. I think we're gonna have to cover quite a bit of the lose before Nick Land, and I think we're gonna have to cover a few more people before we get to him, but it will happen. Of course, we will cover Kant at some point. We will absolutely cover Capital. These are all things that'll be works in progress. This channel, I have a long-term goal of covering a ton of stuff. So yeah, thank you so much. From the bottom of my heart, Dylan, I appreciate it beyond words. Pedophilia is obviously not good, but it seems that the public position on pedos is disgust-based, which is obviously not a logical emotion. Yeah, I think it also, too, it doesn't really do anything to combat it, because pedophilia is a giant issue, and it's horrible. Like, there's nothing, in some ways, almost worse than that. You know what I mean? But our current approach of just raw incarceration, rather than really trying to sort of help these people and allow them a sort of, because I think a lot of there's, again, too, I watched a whole documentary about this in Europe, this new approach, and it's quite radical, and it's very it's very interesting and actually a little bit controversial. But essentially the approach is to keep them away, right? So like Germany still, like, of course they are incarcerated, but they go through extensive sort of attempts at rehab. And there's a lot of people who claim they allow in Germany, I believe this is Germany, I don't quote me on this, it could be another country in Europe, but they allow people who say they struggle with those urges to come forward and talk to therapists, and they get the help that they need. That infrastructure doesn't exist in the United States. And I can't imagine I'd imagine if it did, there would be a lot less children harmed. Aren't you saying that you don't want to jail pedophiles? What the fuck? Where are you jumping? What the fuck is this? You looking for... Okay. No, that's absolutely not what the fuck I'm doing. Like, you fucking... If you I don't want to go into too much detail, but if you do what pedophiles often do to children, you absolutely should not be in. No, absolutely not. Fuck no. I'm absolutely in favor of incarceration of that shit. But if you want to actually help victims and get at the root, I think placing an infrastructure to actually allow people who deal with those, pedophiles to actually get the help that they need, and at least try to at least alleviate that issue in smarter ways than what we've initially done. I think that's literally the most logical thing to do, and that's common sense. A lot of infrastructure doesn't exist. Yeah, I mean, nothing in the United States exists for any infrastructure. I've seen in some countries pedophiles are non-permanently castrated. Ooh. I think this is a good solution for helping pedophiles with their urges. I don't know, man. I hear a lot of people say that, and a lot of people take that seriously. God, this is a conversation that get you in trouble, I guess. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm quite there. I just don't know. It depends on what that would entail. You know what I mean? Like, I think, like, I usually don't like having these discussions, right? I usually don't like, this is, like, it's funny because, like, people, I think this is always a common thing on, like, YouTube debate channels. They'll debate these topics. I don't usually talk about this stuff, but, and I mean, castration, that's a serious thing. Like, that's a very serious thing. So only if they agree. I see. Oh yeah, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. If they, yeah, for sure. But then that also requires the infrastructure for pedophiles to come forward and say, hey, I got a really fucking big problem that could harm a lot of people. I think that, again, the documentary that I saw, that was a common thing. They obviously in the documentary didn't show their faces, but they were talking to them on camera with their faces blurred out, and they were like, I can't imagine what would happen. It's terrible. Like, like it's not good, and I deal with it all the time. It's an illness. They essentially describe it as an illness, and they need help all the time. And uh, I don't know what to say other than that is seriously needs to be that needs to be taken seriously in the U.S. But of course, capitalism won't. No, absolutely not. What does that entail? It often means letting them loose and hoping therapy sessions work. Holy fuck. What are you talking? Okay. There's nothing more annoying than there's nothing more annoying in my mind than when people just absolutely bring wild presuppositions into no. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. Letting them loose and hoping therapy sessions work? What the fuck are you talking about? I'm not prescribing a direct policy initiative. What I am saying is that we probably need infrastructure on top of what we have to help these people so innocent people are not harmed. What the fuck? Like, I don't understand what's so hard to understand about that. If anything, the reason for this is to help victims, so there aren't more victims. What the fuck? I guess I should have expected that talking about this subject, but, you know. We're going to see a cold war between liberal capitalist states and authoritarian capitalist states. Who can ever spend the most will win. You know, at first, the dark one, I think when you first read that, Let's get to that. I'm gonna put on some more music. We're gonna put on some more music. Be right back. But I'm gonna get to that. That's good. We will go there. Be right back. I don't know what to fuck it. I'll choose this one. We'll do this. All right, good question. Um Motherfucker's gonna clip it. Yeah, I'm not worried about that though. Yeah, maybe. I don't think people will probably do that. I'm a pretty small channel. But yeah, I mean that might happen, but I'm fine, whatever. Let them, I guess, try to do that. I think most people would see that that's total bullshit. Like that I'm like in Epoch philosophy in favor of pedophilia. The fuck that. It's absolutely not. All right. So good question though. The dark one. We're gonna see a cold war between liberal and capitalist and authoritarian capitalist states. Yeah, yeah. I think in some ways, I think that's sort of right. Um, I, I think that's sort of right, but there's huge caveats here. I almost think liberal capitalist states aren't like non-authoritarian states. I find I have that position. This is kind of complex. There's a lot of overarching things here. I think though what we will see we're going to see a huge economic battle between China and the United States, and I think we'll have a Cold War that I don't know if it's going to be as hot as the Cold War as far as like nuclear threats against the USSR, but I think China is going to be way more of a threat against the United States than the USSR, and I think China will probably end up coming out on top. Now, I think the form of what you just said, two capitalist states fighting against each other, is kind of true. I don't find China to be. I think it is ridiculous under any real, I'm saying Marxist context to call them a socialist state. Does that mean China like bad? China infinitely bad? No, that's not the point. It's not a value judgment. It's rather, I think it's just the most accurate way to describe China. China's a pretty capitalist state. They obviously have many things that go against that, but they are a very internationally market-orientated country. And yeah, I think that's probably I think that's probably what we are going to see. And is China more authoritarian than the United States? Only in a raw, direct context. Not really. I find the United States in the Western context actually to be more authoritarian. Like, and I say this, and some critical theorists have said this too. The United States, in the way that it operates, as far as like a propagandistic level, the United States is far worse than any other country in the world. There's something useful about having a top-down hierarchy. Zizek talks about this. People who don't, people in China, people in states where the governing authority is much more clear, and there isn't an ideological smokescreen of freedom and all this stuff. It's easier to map what's going on. And with that, it's almost easier to rebel in some sense. It's easier to rebel. There's a subliminal thing that happens in the United States where people, again, are way more, again, Herbert Marcuse has talked about this, and I agree with him. This is one of the better things that he says. There is an ironically very collectivist ethos in the United States with consumption and how everything works. And in other more authoritarian states, and they are authoritarian in many contexts. Like, let's be clear. China is very authoritarian in many ways, and in many harmful ways. That doesn't mean authoritarian is something bad by default. Again, there's a lot of nuance to these things. But nonetheless, I find the United States to be ironically more authoritarian in a reversal context, in a sort of a reverse context, just in a different way. People have something to rebel against when you have a very clear top-down structural thing. Capitalism subverts that in a lot of ways. It ideologically convinces people that the government and state are like some separate entity. China doesn't even bother to do that. They don't care. Chinese citizens are smarter than that too. All right. New music incoming. I'm gonna go to bed. Bye bye, Epoch. Hey, no problem. Thank you for hanging out. All right, guys, we're on to let's see. We're on to Dallas Acid, the Spiral Arm. What do we got here? Oh, we got a what do we got here? I think, guys, this is a Chrome tape too. Huh. All right. Okay, so yeah, I think that the United States in a lot of ways is actually much more authoritarian in a lot of ways, but it just sort of depends on what you mean. A lot of people hate hearing any critique against China. They fucking freak the fuck out about it. You're hurting the future of socialism by critiquing China. Fuck right off. You hurt any future of emancipatory politics by not being critical of attempts at emancipatory politics, you fucking morons. Anyways. Basically on authority by angles. Yeah, authority is authority and authoritarianism is very nuanced. Another thing also point out is that China is starting to do the same propagandistic thing the US does. Absolutely. Sorry if the question is too broad. Thank you so much.
Sorry if this question is too broad, but what is your vision of how socialism could be established in the United States?
Thank you so much for the donation. I'd be happy to answer that. Yeah, so I've talked about this before, actually pretty extensively on prior streams, but it's been a while. Okay, so that's hard, right? And I think that's always going to be a hard question to answer. Anyone who tells you that like Marxism, Leninism's the answer, Marxism is absolutely the answer, that's absolutely wrong. that does not get at like the core of things. Things change very much, and I don't think prior frameworks on their own in a complete vacuum of theoretical thought are good enough. I think that the United States, if there is a chance at socialism in the United States, one, it's not going to be fast. It will not happen via revolution, ever. It won't. Not at all. Absolutely not. It's not going to happen via revolution. It's not going to happen from overthrowing the state. In certain contexts. In certain contexts. I think that with the United States, what I think we'll see, I think that we've kind of the worst has yet to come. If that makes sense. So, sorry, I'm adjusting something real quick. Do you guys hear the music okay? Some cassette tapes are are much more quiet, so let me know if the music needs to be turned up. Anyways, I'm happy to answer this. So, I think the United States is the way anything relating to socialism could only happen, I think, through a larger global sort of competitive thing where the United States starts to lose. I could find that the emergence. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dylan. I think that what'll happen, maybe the most likely, is that. God, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble answering this. I'm thinking on it. I think there's going to be a really big problem with the rate of profit, right? I think the rate of profit is going to continue to be an issue. What am I thinking of? Automation, AI, is going to start taking over. I think people are going to be in a very...
China is building infrastructure in third world countries, in Asia, Latin America, and Africa, instead of destroying them like the US is doing.
Well,
Iraq, Syria, Libya,
and
Venezuela.
I'll get to that. I'll get to that, David. But yes, that's true. I will 100%. Thank you for the $10, David. Thank you so much. I will 100%. We can talk about that as well. I think what'll happen with automation, we're gonna see a really big economic decline for a lot of people, and I think what may happen is not actual direct revolution as an overthrowing of prior institutions. I don't see that happening in the traditional Marxist-Leninist context. I see rather we might see sort of like a trade union syndicalist approach that, while not necessarily being anarchist, right, or syndicalism, it's going to be something more like democratic socialism. I really think. I think that it's not going to be the traditional centralized socialism or state. Yeah, I don't think that'll happen. I think that what we will probably end up seeing is something like, it's something like democratic socialism. I really do. I think that we haven't seen the worst of what is yet to come. I think neoliberalism is still in the middle of its decline. I could be wrong. And that's not just a good thing. People will celebrate that, like, fuck yeah, bring on the fucking... No, that's horrible. I think a lot of bad shit's gonna happen, guys, and it's actually a little bit scary. But it is what it is, you know? Not gonna live in fear from it, but shit's gonna get bad politically, I think. Much, much worse. And from that, I think potentially more egalitarian, more of a socialistic system will pop up. But I don't think it's going to be it's not going to be a crush the bourgeoisie revolution overnight sort of thing. It won't. It's just not. It will not. Not to say that revolutions are overnight at all, but it's not. That's not what's going to happen. I don't think. Okay, so David, I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much, Luke. So David says China is building infrastructure in third world countries. Yeah, so, yeah, that seems good. I actually don't know much about this. So, I would imagine, I'm not gonna lie, I'm skeptical. I'm a little skeptical over the idea that China is going to do this in the most benevolent way possible. I hope that there isn't some tethered, you know, but I don't know. I can't say that they are. I think, you know, you find a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, but like that's like what they're doing. I've heard some people, I can't comment on this because I don't know, I've not read on it, but some people have said that it's actually really quite imperialistic what they're doing. And that wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't fucking surprise me in the slightest. I don't have, but again, I don't know. I can't say whether that's what China's doing. I think on the surface, building infrastructure in other countries is a good thing, but I hope it doesn't come at a major caveat. You are wrong. We are going to end up in a weird socialist centrally. Are you talking about just like capitalism itself? Like that we have? Yeah, anytime. I think it's gonna. I think what'll probably end up happening, if anything, is towards socialism. It's gonna be something like. It's probably gonna be something like democratic socialism. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of, in my mind, what I imagine the most realistic thing that's gonna be. It's gonna take a long time, and there's gonna be a lot of bad shit that happens, I think. But I don't know. I could totally be wrong. That's sort of my approach. I don't think I think democratic socialism's good. Democratic socialism also has never happened. I don't hold that belief. I don't think there is ever really. I think we've seen social democracies, but I don't think we've really ever seen democratic socialism. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe parts of the global south. We can argue that, but. Man, even here in Greece, China has invested a ton. The port of Piraeus got bought out from public sector by China, and they have doubled its capacity. They are the sole owner. Interesting. 3 of the YouTubers subscribed to posted an Spinoza video in the same week. Interesting. All right. Michelle Winther, hey, how's it going? I love seeing those little badges. Thank you for always being so generous. Generous, Michelle. Building infrastructure in Africa with rights to their ports, win-win. Yeah, I mean, I think China's incredibly smart from a geopolitical standpoint. I mean, guys, it's not even funny how much smarter and better China is at everything that they do than us. And that sort of, in my mind, guys, it's sort of, that includes a negative tone to that as well. I don't know specifics, but I think the idea of I think China has implemented a sort of social grading system or something like that. That sounds like shit. I don't like that. I think a lot of leftists, if that happened in the United States, would not be cool with that. I would imagine that in the U.S. it wouldn't be that different in how it's practiced. That sounds like shit. Again, I don't know the details. Maybe it's not as bad as what what they say, but nonetheless. I think China has a capacity to do a lot of terrible things. But yeah. Skepticism is good, but complete acceptance of the neoliberal capitalist framing of China is not good. No, absolutely not. No, you're no, 100%. You're absolutely right. No, we shouldn't do that. Yeah. For sure. I see less of that. I see way more skepticism of what the West says about China than I do, yeah. What I see the actual counter issue I see a lot of the times is people thinking that there's a China good, China bad narrative, and I think that's really quite shit. Or that you have to defend China by definition. You don't have to do that. And matter of fact, it would be harmful, I think, in the long term to really sort of point out and pick out some issues. I really think, like, if you're going to talk about it, like, yeah. China's being an IMF without the emphasis on payback. I think but that's the thing. I think that's sort of what I was thinking about, especially with how the United States did a lot of the investment in South America. It was bad, man. They kind of crippled countries and enslaved them. That's what I would kind of worry about with China doing something like that. Like, yeah. Have you watched Bad M. Pananda's video on camps in China? So I saw that happened. I will not watch. I don't watch anything from that guy. I don't watch anything from YouTubers who make political analysis content videos and that are like, listen, I've seen his presence on social media. And I don't think people like him, I don't even want to contend with any of his content. Like, I'm not gonna, I can't say anything about him, but he just says some really dipshit stuff. He partakes in the traditional sort of online, like, sectarian discourse debate. It's fucking horrible. I think people like Bad Ampananda, channels like that, create a way worse environment for actual good discussion. I'm sure his video's fine. I haven't watched it, but no, fuck no, I don't. Someone linked that video on my Discord and I deleted it. He has far better content. Goddamn, dude. That's not a high bar, but I'm sure. Goddamn, dude, his Twitter presence is like the worst shit I've ever fucking seen. All it is like Vosh bad and like all like, or I don't know, like streamers bad or like bad take. I don't know. It's fucking dumb. I don't like any of that. Yeah. But yeah, no, I haven't seen it. I don't like, I just don't kind of trust those people, and again, that also implies that I'm not going to shit on him. I can't critique him because I don't want to watch him. His best is knowing better, the counter he did on Columbus. Yeah, online debate culture is so terrible. It's horrible. Oh, what's up, Caleb? Based Ian. Damn. How's it going, dude? We gotta have you on again, man. That was a fun talk. Yeah, he DMs Vosh every day to call him fat. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, what the fuck? This is also the other thing. As many annoying things as Vosh has done and said, the thing that almost annoys me more is the people who obsess over Vosh. What the fuck? Who fucking cares? It doesn't, like, what the fuck? Thank you, David. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the $3. Always so generous. Yeah, man, I get tired of that shit. Same about like people like with Destiny. I get it. I totally fucking understand these streamers. The entire framework that they operate within is so insufficient, right? It's again, it turns into political hobbyism and just sort of spectacle, and it creates a very uncritical environment for talking about a lot of these things, and I hate that. But at the same time, when all you do is bitch and moralize individuals like Vosh, you don't get at the root of it. The problem isn't Vosh, necessarily. The problem is the framework in which they're all operating within, which is the debate brosphere and having fucking random Twitter accounts on their thing to talk about whether the fucking Uyghur genocide happened or whatever. Like, I hate that shit. Take care and thanks, Epoch. I'll see you, Oho. And I'm going to become a civil engineer in this crap economy. Fuck me. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. I guess becoming a civil engineer is not the worst thing that you could do. I'm sure there's a lot. Yeah. Faraday, they should be ignored. Yeah, I think so. Or what you should do, either ignored or, listen, like, if you want to go on their platform and, you know, try to bring up the insufficiencies at approaching discussions like that in that manner, in a debate-like context, the competitive sort of discourse-orientated online isms. Hopefully you can grab a few people who are like, you know what, like, I get that that's probably not really helpful, and hopefully we can, you know, hopefully create an environment where we think about forms of thought. We think a little bit more critically about things, and hopefully maybe in a more cooperative sense. And I don't, yeah, I don't know. But again, debate like that is rabid entertainment, and you try to strip that entertainment from people, they will go after you. I already have experienced this firsthand. People don't like that. People don't like being told that debating isn't important. They don't like hearing that their spectacle, actually in some ways hurts what they're trying to convey more than it helps, because it creates an environment where the opposite can happen. Like, good things happen via cooperation most of the time, and it doesn't come from a rabidly competitive context. Yeah, most online pundits are just feeding our phone and anger addictions. Absolutely. And this is the yeah, they need it, Tyler M. They need it. Well, Oho Roho didn't pay me for not saying jouissance. So That's exactly right. It's a sort of cultural jouissance. Is anyone hearing? I'm sorry. That might be true. My microphone has a really narrow uh, form of like a lot of condenser microphones, guys. The polar pattern goes from like sides around. Mine goes straight. It's a super cardioid. Whatever microphone terminology. That's probably me. I apologize. Yeah, I don't like punditry at all in the slightest. Really, like I get that there's. I don't think all punditry by definition is gonna be bad, but there's too much of it. Everyone wants to be a pundit. There's way too much of it. And it's not necessarily just being a pundit, right? It's being a pundit about what? Like politics? The fuck? Like I don't get punditry on its own, commentary on its own absolutely is not bad. Like at all. It's like what the fuck are you gonna comment on and be political pundit understander? Like the fuck? No. Like we don't need any more of that. Like that's not what we need. Yeah, I think a lot of people misconstrue journalism and punditry. Like the fuck, man. Like that's another thing too. I don't like that. I don't like that in the slightest. I think that we've talked about this quite a bit in recent streams. I don't like how a lot of independent or contemporary journalism is happening today. It sucks. It's incredibly surface level, and it doesn't actually do what it intends to do, and that to be informed. In order to inform on something, you can't just talk about that something. It has to be more than that. You have to try to convey certain frameworks on how you can interpret that information. It's not good enough to just tell people that that information and comment on it and be a pundit, right? I think education is required, and education requires cooperation, and it requires relationship. Yes, Rue Godzilla, politics for politics' sake is mad dumb, like for real. Absolutely. That is 100% correct. Politics for politics' sake absolutely fucking sucks. It is like the worst of worst. This is an interesting little album we're listening to. Professional opinion holders. Yeah, that's it. I mean, and everyone wants to be that. And and I do too. You know what I mean? Like we can't escape it necessarily, but the thing that we can do, I think, is be critical of that framework and try to at least be an opinion holder, a professional opinion holder in a more critical way, and try to find ways to just get past that. Again, I'm not just a professional opinion holder. I make videos. I make YouTube videos talking about text. I try to make it easier. I try to create as much as possible rather than just critique. And be a sort of influencer. That's not my. I don't think that's my goal. I understand there's sort of a if you care about those issues, you run into a barrier where you still have to partake in it, you know? Caleb, yeah, except today the journos will hang out with a person for a day and spend the rest of the time on Google. It's the Gulf Stream, the Gulf War never took place on steroids. Absolutely, it creates a sort of weird. That's another thing, man. Online, guys, we've talked about that a lot. Online independent media creates. Yeah, no problem. I knew what you meant, Caleb. It creates a sort of simulacrum of what's going on. And we don't talk about that. That simulacrum arose from mainstream media, right? It's not that independent media today on the internet creates it. It just follows the same path as mainstream media, ironically. People think that if you just take away corporate investors from mainstream, you take the form in which mainstream media exists, you just strip away the corporatism, you'll fix it. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Matter of fact, there are newer things about independent media. We talk about this, but I think this is an important thing to hammer in. Contemporary journalism now has newer issues that mainstream media of the past on television didn't. in the sense that there was only so many corporations that and news channels and information that it was easier to map sort of understandings of things, and it was easier to map what people sort of thought and in specific ways depending on what media they consume. And that sucks in some ways, right? There's a huge conformity to that, right? There's a structured conformity, and in that sense, obviously people like George Carlin pointed this out. But now we're at the point where it's not uniform, and in that, and yet if it's not uniform and it's still sort of a hobbyistic entertainment apparatus, we got a fucking issue. We're digging a deeper hole because it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder to come out of that hole because you can't map certain things through small little corporations. CNN, Fox News, all of these things. No, now it's like the Young Turks. Now it's like Secular Talk. Now it's fucking like all these fucking people, these nodes within a network, Jimmy Dore, and these people, and we think that they're like doing something like significant. And in some ways, there are positives to it. They can critique things that on mainstream media you couldn't critique. But the thing is the framework that you operate within, you are not independent. It's not independent media. You're just independent from corporations. You're not independent from an audience that also doesn't demand certain things of you. The influence of exchange, it's not art. It's not creation, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's not raw creativity of what could be under a non-commodified system. I think Baudrillard references Apocalypse Now as stand-in for the Vietnam War and Simulacra. I love Apocalypse Now as well. It's such a wonderful movie. And on Potato, so Culture Industry 2.0. You're fucking right. That's exactly it. Politics on the internet has completely turned into Culture Industry 2.0. This sounds very inspired by Matt Christman. I mean, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he's came to similar conclusions to this. This guy, I mean, even from his own audience, I'm sure Matt Christman's pretty cool, dude. A lot of the Chapo Trap House following, and it's not fair to paint them all like this because they're so huge and they're so popular. They're so popular that I could never say that. But a lot of their following are absolutely rabidly terrible. Nonetheless, Matt Christman's really fucking sick. A lot of the stuff he talks about is really, really cool. And that doesn't surprise me. He seems like the dude that would be able to kind of look at how sort of that operates and point that out. Yeah, Matt Christman's sick. People feel forced to have opinions about everything and pundits let them easily. Yeah. Apocalypse Now is good as an infantry marine. Jarhead captures it well. Even for the protagonist, the Gulf War didn't happen. Yeah. Jarhead is fucking disturbing and depressing. Hence why debate bros can't just go away. We toss around simulacra to explain fantasy, but what you just described is literally that. Yeah. Yep. Man, it's a biblio. Corporate in a legal sense is absolutely bananas and made to do the exact same thing you're talking about. Yeah, it's in your view, what would these independent journalists do instead? Like, what would you do to make it better? So, no, that's a perfect question, and I'm kind of glad someone asked that. That should probably be asked. I haven't really elaborated on that. So I think whenever it comes to I don't know exactly. And it's hard. That's hard to answer. It absolutely, there is no easy answer to that. That's the tragedy of a lot of issues, right? This is why critical theory is more critique sometimes than it is like prescribing what to do. I think journalists who are independent would be wise to limit the punditry, do more quote unquote like specific writing. I think things like The Intercept do this really well. Or better. Jacobin does this pretty well. There doesn't seem to be a massive, they still partake in a sort of entertainment apparatus, absolutely. But rather than it being like an analysis sort of punditry sort of thing, which is what a lot of independent they call themselves independent journalists, and it's just really not journalism. Um, I think we would be wise to create more works of journalism rather than more works of like online punditry. Try to, again, and then this is classical journalism. Try to stay away from tag stuff. Try to stay away from anti-communist this or pro or like fascist this and this and that. Stay away from stuff like that. Stay away from alienating language, undescriptive language, stuff like that. They should focus more on systems than people, maybe. Well, yeah, that's another thing. Pundits, that's another problem. Pundits don't focus on systems a lot of the time. They focus on people a lot of the time, and that's not good either. I hadn't even thought about that. I think that is a very hard question to answer, but I think it's that. And it's, it's especially hard because we have a very commodified system and how you work with, and again, systems is hard to relate to. Yeah, I mean it is. And this is why I say independent journalists aren't really independent. The independent pundits aren't independent because they're still reliant on their audience, their Patreon. They know what their audience wants. They know their audience wants to at least show some catharsis, and they want to show like they want a release. They want them to go on there and just yell and talk about anti-establishmentism, whether that's right or left. Talk about things in a very non-critical context, and they want to get their sweet kick from that. Yeah, finding good left-leaning news sources can be super difficult. It is. I mean, it is, for sure. I think things like Jacobin, The Intercept, The Economist are pretty decent. I think right now the best that we can hope for is to really get away from the rabidly online punditry. That's some of the, yeah. Because I'm seeing a new emergence on the internet, like you guys, I think, where like this journalism just seems to be just like weird punditry, and that's in my mind not journalism, or if you want to call it that, it doesn't seem like good journalism at that. How would a decommodified media work? Oh, well, you couldn't do that in our system. I mean, decommodified media would only work in complete decommodification, and that is that's a whole other beast to tackle. Off-topic question, but epoch philosophy. What sort of history do you study? Oh, yeah, no, perfect question. I think Moza. I'll respond to Moza because we were on that topic, then I'll move on to that. I guess in a way I would see it as take the information, just be critical of that information. Well, most people take, if you're talking to punditry, that's much more difficult. It's much easier to get wrapped up in that, but articles and stuff like that, that's easier. And of course there can be punditry in articles, but trying to stick into something like descriptive language that tries to stay focused in that goal, that seems to me to be the best journalism, and that we're getting away from that. So Epoch, so I study right now, I'm writing a thesis on alcoholism in recent American history. Not recent American history, but in early American history, and alcoholism as sort of a tool for imperialism and the political economy. That's what my thesis is about. How essentially alcohol really allowed the United States to really like push west very quick. A little bit of the history of British imperial or British political economics, trade through the colonies to the Caribbean, and understanding some of alcohol's relation and American history. But yeah, my focus at hand has mainly been American history as far as history goes. Where do you study? I study at UMKC, University of Missouri, Kansas City. Totally doxing myself, but that's okay. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, people know I live in KC, but yeah, go to UMKC. That's my last semester. There's a scene in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly where a Union Army captain says the fighting spirit is in this bottle. I mean, yeah. I mean, Native Americans were. I wasn't good. There's a one of the big primary sources that I'm using is a land surveyor from Britain. God, he went through the Carolinas at the time, and I think they were sort of like semi-territories at that point. And he went with Native Americans, and he noticed how addicted they got to alcohol. And he didn't really talk a lot about like imperialism as a weapon, but talked about that a lot, and how a lot of people capitalized off that. There's another book called Deadly Medicine and the Roots of Dependency that are right there. It's secondary sources that I'm using for that research. But I studied history as an undergrad and had a professor who taught history of alcohol class. Interesting. My professor, my kind of like thesis, it's an undergrad thesis advisor, is that's his entire thing was alcoholism. It's his in drug related stuff in history. That's his big focus. The Great Debater, where Denzel is a socialist debate coach. When you finish your thesis, would you share it with us? Absolutely. I can definitely do that. It's not going to be very good. I'm not taking it very seriously because it's not something that I really care about all that much. I care about theory and philosophy. But for the sake of history, yeah, I could do that. I could at least give you guys the lowdown. Sounds interesting. Will you release your thesis when it's complete? Yeah, I think so. I could do that. I think it depends on how good it is. I really, guys, again, I know it is interesting stuff, mind you, it is. I just have a lot on my plate and I don't really give a fuck about it that much, so it's not going to be my best work. Hopefully my professors aren't watching this. They're not watching this and they're like, fucking, yeah. Anyways, yeah, I could think about it. I might do that. But, so guys, I was in the same boat when I was an undergrad history major, but more interested in philosophy. I'm right there with you, for sure. So guys, I think that I'm gonna call it a day. We're about at the 2 hour mark in the stream. I appreciate it as always. Again, we talked about today. There was a major announcement. I hope that none of you guys missed it. I'll give this. I'll give you guys the lowdown. Our public Discord is not going to be a thing anymore. I cannot keep the riffraff of Lib Destroyer 819 fucking libtards in this server are destroying, like, whatever. Uyghur genocide is not happening, or all of this stuff. China good, China bad narratives, online politics, narrative shit. Can't keep it out of my public Discord. It's impossible. And so I'm putting it behind paywall. Regrettably, that's the last thing I wanted to do. Guys, I've been worrying about this for a while. Some of you guys were probably here for me to say this, but earlier in the stream we talked about this. The last thing I wanted to do was that. Ever. And but I don't know another way to do that. I don't have mods like crazy. People aren't gonna mod for me like crazy. I'm a small channel. It's impossible. I can't do all the moderation. I'm way too busy. So what I can do, though, what I said, like, it's for Patreons, the $6 tier, but what I can do, if any of you guys want to join, please reach out to me. I do not want to be overly stringent with this. I want you to be a part of this. I understand $6 is something that's a lot of money for people. And so if that doesn't quite work, come talk to me. Let's work something out. It really, like, no problem at all. If you're a $3 tier Patreon right now, please let me know, and let me work with you in this early stages, and we're moving to a private Discord. Hope I get to stay on the server. So I mean, it just, yeah, let me come talk to me for sure. Definitely. My biggest thing is that the server has moved into political hobbyism way quicker than it has than anyone talks about theory, and really weird and like really mean shit. Like, people on there get really aggressive and confrontational. And I'm not cool with that at all. And anyway, like, if we're gonna have a Discord, it's just gonna be in a cooperative spirit. That's it. It's gonna be joyful philosophy. And we can absolutely talk about politics. It's not the problem at all. It's just it doesn't happen in a critical context here, and I can't moderate everything that happens. If punditry is unproductive and creative, Well, a lot of punditry is uncreative in many ways, I'd argue. Educational content is better, but grad school is educational content is definitely better in my mind. But grad school is a pyramid scheme. What do you recommend? I'll have to save that for the next stream. That's a good question, Nathan. I apologize. I'll have to come back and ask me that. I'm more than happy to talk about that. So, yeah, that's it, guys. I would love to have you in the Discord. I apologize that it's under that now, but hopefully, what we can do is we can do more reading. When I start to do we're gonna do group reads of certain texts and stuff like that. We can that'll make it easier, stuff like that. So Rue Godzilla, I don't know yet. I think I probably soon, but it's gonna be a bit. But other than that, guys, that's it. I was just gonna wrap it up. That's sort of the announcement. Again, I want to work with all of you guys. Please let me know if you do want to join, but you're a little tight on money. There's absolutely, like, guys, I mean, zero fucking shame in that, like, at all. Please let me know and reach out. Oh, if we would like to reach out to you, what is the best way? Social medias. I think my DMs are open on Twitter. Instagram. Yeah, probably the best ways on there. So yeah. Yusuf, thoughts on our Red Dead Redemption 2? I can answer that really quick. It's fucking amazing. I love Red Dead Redemption 2. One of the best games ever. I beat it like 3 times. All right, guys, I appreciate it so much. Again, as always, I give the same spiel. We were just talking about this with the fucking Patreon and Discord. Yeah, if you guys do want to pledge a couple bucks a month, it does keep all of this alive. I can continue to do this stuff. I wouldn't be able to do it without it. Especially right now, I'm making this video. It's fucking long and it is really hard. This is one of the most difficult videos I've had to make, and it's a really unique video that we're working on. That's why I haven't had a video out in so long. It's exhausting my fucking brain power beyond comprehension, and I'm having to navigate it really carefully. And so yeah, Patreon allows me to do stuff like that without having to pump out videos to get paid. Other than that, feel free to bookmark my Amazon link. That helps out a ton. It's free to you. Again, I always give the footnote, do not shop on Amazon unless you already do. Or, if you don't, out of principle, do not do it because I have a link by definition. But if you do, like me, I do as well, consider bookmarking it. It helps me out a little bit. So, guys, I appreciate it so much. Another shout out to David. Thank you so much for the tips. Dylan Gordon, thank you so much for the tips. And Luke Madrid. I think that is all. Who else? I think that is all. David, Dylan, and Luke. Thank you guys. Beyond words. I appreciate it. And the rest of you guys, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate you all. I will see you later.